the money changers and all. And so we wanted to explain to them what that was all about. And so in closing, I'll just share that. In the gospel messages about the money changers, or Jesus cleansing the temple, and we've seen it. Jesus made that little whip and kicked over the tables and was beating everybody. We know that story. But the story behind that story was what money changers were. So you had people, poor people from all over the land coming to get atoned for their sins at certain times of the year. And all they could bring with them, because they couldn't afford to buy, they were poor people, so they would bring their own little sheep, their own little lambs, their own little, their own little animals to come and bring and make sacrifice for themselves and their family. But when they get to the church, the religious leaders were determined that the animals that they brought were not good enough, they were not pure enough. That sacrifice that they brought from home, this poor little family, just wasn't good enough to atone for their sins. So they had to purchase from the church, from these religious leaders, they had to purchase a proper animal to atone for their sins. Did it stop there? No. Not only did they have to purchase the proper animal from the church to atone from their sins, they had to use the right kind of money. The fact is, back in those days, people would come from all over, from their own little communities, that each community would have their own form of currency, their own form of coinage, their own form of money. And so the church leaders were determined that your money is not the right money to purchase these animals from us. So we will buy your money. We will purchase you will have to purchase the right money. So they would charge them fees just to change the money. And they would rip them off. They would gyp the people by changing their money. And then when they changed their money at a high interest rate, they would then have to use that money to buy from the church the pure animal, the proper animal, to atone for their sins. When Jesus got wind of that, he was mad. He was kicking over tables and whooping them guys and said, "You have turned my house from a house of prayer into a house of merchandise." And that's what I'm suggesting today. Jesus never took issue with sinners all through Scripture. His issue was always with the religious folks, the prideful religious folks that thought they were okay and nobody else was. So what I'm suggesting today is we just need to determine, when we're reading those Bible stories, who are we in that story? And I'm suggesting that too often we are not the protagonists.